Ah, okay, we're back. Let's have a little quick cafe here. Keep us going, keep the old brain box running. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Amazing picture, I think, behind me today. We're doing media, and this is kind of the last of the recordings I'm doing. And generally speaking, media has really changed in this country. I would say probably you hear the fake news, blah blah blah. I've been hearing that since I was a kid, since I can, as long as I can remember, like in '68. Um, and I've mentioned this in other recordings. My father was a Vietnam veteran, and he hates the media. He's hated the media since the '60s. He says they're a bunch of pathological liars, and to don't trust it. And today we're moving towards what I call the network society. And the network society is you don't have to rely on Fox, ABC News. You don't have to rely on to provide you with information. The role of the media is to provide entertainment, report news, identify public problems, help identify what should be on the agenda, socializing new generations, providing political forum. And of course, bottom line is they're all supposed to make profits. But all of these organizations that you see up here are all in financial decline. Television versus new media. Let's just put it this way: social networking. I mean, how many of you listen to more social media than you do the regular 6 o'clock news? How you know how long? How many of you? How many of you still, pay attention to the evening news? How many people still watch the news at 6 o'clock? When I grew up, if you wanted to hear something on the news, you had to wait till 6. Today, you can just open up your phone and, you got CNN or Fox or whatever agency you like is right there for you. Television is declining. I mean, there are people, that don't watch television at all. My son, for example, he doesn't watch TV. He's, either on his computer or his phone, but he rarely watches television. He'll watch a show with us as a family, but he doesn't watch television. Television is declining. CNN just this year in 2024 moved out of their big downtown office building and had to move back to their old studios over by Georgia Tech. Why? Because they're going bankrupt. They're no longer played at every airport in the country. They lost their airport contracts about 2 years ago, and ever since then they've gone in decline. I am dead serious as cancer. Anderson Cooper is sending his resume out. Okay. Now, he's loaded. I mean, financially, he's from the Vanderbilt family. His mother or his aunt is Gloria Vanderbilt. I'm talking Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt University. He's from that family. He's got a ton of money. But jobs in media have declined hugely. There's very few journalists. Tucker Carlson, just to kind of give you an idea, Tucker Carlson, when he got fired from Fox, that was the best thing that ever happened to him. I mean, they gave him a gift. Well, what do you mean? Well, okay, he was making, let's say, $1 million at Fox. Now he's making close to 50. He has his own media company. And media covering, television coverage of media, political advertising, negative advertising, management coverage, spin doctors. Okay, all that is basically talking about how the media will take a story. I'm hitting spin doctors and spin and put their own little spin on it. I used to do an assignment with students a few years ago. I don't do it anymore because it was a little, somebody complained that it made them uncomfortable politically, and basically, um, it was a guy that it was not a nice man. Let's just put it this way: you were, having basically you were making an arsonist a fire. I was trying to get you to hire an arsonist as your fire chief, is basically what it was. But I spin doctored his whole career. Instead of making him a very evil, bad guy, which he was, I spin doctored his career. If you just did a Google search on the guy's name, you'd see that he was not a nice man. And he was an arsonist. Who would you want for your fire chief? Political advertising here in 2024. Political advertising. I saw a picture of Donald Trump. It was a political advertisement, and Time Magazine had it as their cover, and he was covered as, basically making him out to be a Nazi. Well, if you vote for Trump, you're voting for a Nazi. Um, but advertising in media, okay, political advertising, will go a certain way. Now, this television coverage of media advertising is not as effective. Now, here's the reason why. We're going to pick on ESPN. They had, or still do, I believe, Monday Night Football, which was a big moneymaker, huge moneymaker. Over the past few years, the popularity of watching football has gone down. Okay, there was the taking of a knee, taking of your knee, and to me, if that's what you want to do, fine, go ahead and take a knee during the national anthem. If you don't want to be on the field during the national anthem, fine, go sit in the locker room. But the problem with it is that you're pissing off your fans. Now, here's a little something: those of you wanting to go to the entertainment business, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's movies, don't piss off your audience, okay? Take a little piece of advice from John Candy, the late John Candy, actor and comedian and writer. He was at a Kings hockey game, and he was out there very much, advertising his team, because he owned a hockey team, and they were playing the Kings in LA at the LA Sports Arena. And he was with Jack Nicholson and Dan Aykroyd. Now, I was working in media at the time. I was working for a company called California News Service, and I was covering the story of John Candy being in LA, and at this Kings game, and he's walking around, waving to people, shaking hands, taking pictures. And he goes back to the box where he and Jack Nicholson, who hates everybody, he hates his fans, he hates everybody, and he's there with Dan Aykroyd, and Dan Aykroyd says, "Hey, John, do you want me to get security to keep these people away from the box so you can sit and watch the game?" And John Candy looks at Dan Aykroyd and he goes, "Why would I want to keep these people away from here?" And he says, "Because, John, you're here to see the game." And John Candy goes, "No, if I wanted to watch the game, I would have stayed home. I can watch it better on television." And you kind of think of it, those of you who go to sports games and stuff, can you see the game better at home on TV, or is it better in the stadium? And there's something to the stadium experience. But John Candy says, no. He says, "Why would I do that?" He says, "These are my fans, Dan. These are the kids that go and watch my." He had a cartoon at the time. "These are the kids who watch my cartoons. These are the kids who go to my movies. These are the kids and families who buy my products." He says, "These are the fans that will come to my hockey games." He says, "Why would I want to do that? These are the people who pay me. I'm here to see them. They're not here to see me. I'm here to see them." And I'm told later by sources who know Aykroyd and Candy both very well, Jack Nicholson never spoke to John Candy again, not even after his death, and they were good friends prior. Um, and Dan Aykroyd and John Candy didn't really have a falling out, but they were kind of annoyed with him. But he was like, "These are the people who pay me." Um, and it the point I'm making is that media is also used for public relations. It's also used to capture, and advertisements to capture people's you know attention, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, like advertising politics. This was a Lyndon Johnson thing. Basically, you hear a countdown, and this little girl is doing this, and then all of a sudden you see the nuclear explosion, and vote for President Johnson. And this is the same crap I've been hearing my whole life. They're going to get us into a war. They're going to get us into a war. That president, I don't like him. He's going to get us into a war. Democrats will never get us into a war. I vote for only Democrats. Well, the Republicans, are going to, make sure that, that you keep your money, and that the Democrats are going to tax you to death. That's political advertising, spinning an issue. Okay. Quick little story about my own parents. Uh, my mother told my father if he voted for Barry Goldwater in 1964, he was going to end up in Vietnam. My father voted for Barry Goldwater. Check and see when Barry Goldwater was president. See if he ever made it to the presidency. But political campaign. Now, this bit, I didn't even write this. Going for a knockout punch, televised presidential debates. Um, you know, Presidential debates, Trump Biden debate, why is one candidate limiting them? Let's just kind of stick with the presidential debate if you saw the one last about 2 weeks ago. Okay, here in 2024. Did that really help? That was supposed to be the knockout punch to Trump. They got the convictions, and that was supposed to knock him out and lay him out. Now there's even question whether he's gonna debate in September. And right now, we just recently had that shooting at Trump trying to assassinate him. We just had another attempt, I'm told. They arrested some guy with a gun near the Republican convention just a few days ago. It's, that type of thing. So, you know, um, television coverage, is supposed to, do knockout bits. Concentrated owner of media conglomerations. Before Bill Clinton, you had I believe it was almost 28 media companies. Now we only have six. Rules and guidelines. Now think about that on your social media. Okay, rules harmful to the public good. Don't put this up, because like the COVID vaccine, it's all safe and effective. It stops the virus in its tracks. You won't get COVID. It won't harm you. It won't this, it won't that. You better take it. And if you don't take it, you're going to kill somebody and you're evil. Social media, internet changes. They're talking about change, yeah, they do. They do limit things on social media. People are banned and demonetized, and Facebook claims they don't do it, and this group claims they're free speech, and it's supposed to be a free speech world. And one of the things I say about social media is, yeah, they're banning information from people whether you agree with this information. Now, if you question Dr. Fauci, and I'll just put it to you this way, I don't like Dr. Fauci. Okay, I didn't trust that little poisonous little dwarf after the first week. I just thought there was something slimy about him. But then I did a little bit of research on the guy, and I'll just put it to you this way. What that SOB did to dogs, and in my opinion, there was no scientific reason for it. He should be arrested for just that. And if I were the judge, I would just bring him in with his attorneys. I would, have a prosecutor charge him. I'd bring him into my court, and what I would exactly say to Dr. Fauci, what he did to dogs is, do you have anything to say before I find you guilty and sentence you? That's the kind of trial the guy would get with me. I mean, it's, you know, um, you know, I don't like the guy. And in my opinion about the whole COVID thing, I think he should be in The Hague, facing crimes against humanity, because he did far more damage to society than the virus ever could. Basically, I'll put it to you this way: teen suicides during the whole lockdown and psychological, issues and problems as a result of the lockdown went up over 20,000% in the United States. I mean, if you don't believe me, I can prove it. And Um, and we could put a little wager on it to make it a little more interesting for me. Oh, give me if you're wrong, I get an A in the class. Yeah, failing you doesn't do anything. I don't get anything out of that. I don't get anything out of you getting an A. Let's put a little money on the side. Let's make this interesting. I'm looking to make some money here. I'm only a graduate of the University of Nevada, Reno, so you know how I spend a lot of my time. But the point I make about it is, social media harmful to the public good, questions about it. And here's my point to it. Um, I really don't want some agency or some government agency, being like out of George Orwell books, the Ministry of Truth, the thought police. I really don't see any purpose to that. I just see that as more waste and creating even a bigger bureaucracy. And who are they going to put in charge of it? They're going to put in charge of it some clown who ran Facebook, Marky Zuckerberg. And let me just put it this way: if he ran for president, he's not getting my vote. Because I think he's done more harm in this country to young people than anybody. What has he done harmful? The whole thing about cyberbullying. Um, but I think there's also a parental responsibility if you're under, and people say, well, teens and da 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 da, and da 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 da. My view is this: look, yeah, if you're under 18, your parents' responsibility. You go out and you start a fire and commit arson. Your parents are legally liable for that civilly. So, yeah, they bear some huge responsibility. Um, you know, what should we do to reform some of these things? I think the thing we should do, yes, there is a network responsibility. I think the network should be neutral. Uh, the monopolies of ISPs, should networks be neutrally enforced by law? Um, See, the thing is, what I say about the internet, and when we start talking about it, but you can get a VPN and have your server be out of Morocco if you want to. So it's hard. I would say it's very difficult to police the networks, and I don't really want there to be an internet police. However, there are things on the network that are inherently dangerous. I don't think you should be allowed to have a website that teaches you how to make a nuclear bomb in your basement. I'm not inciting to violence. Well, what about, nudie cutie stuff on the internet? The internet is filled with pornography, and all kinds of, creepy people. The point I make about that is I'm not inciting to violence, nor do I want to incite to decadence. But the more you ask government to do to protect you on the internet or in life or in society, is that there are more rights taken from you, and there is a government bureaucracy that's gonna be in charge of that. And are they any better than, and the bottom line I'll make about it: trust the mass media, people are going downwards. Here's the point I'm going to make. Okay, now I'm just, putting this out there to you. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I want to do one thing here. Just give me 1 second here. Let's pause for a minute. Okay. Now, this show, I'm not going to tell you what show it is. It's bad. It's really bad. But this little guy in this situation about this show expresses is going to express one opinion, then I'm going to give you a second opinion. My follow up to that. Okay, this little guy is going to say it perfectly.
I don't care. Don't care.
What the hell?
What did he just say? He victimized me. It's
Okay, now that show is, you know, bad. It's a very, very bad show. You should not watch it. And if I find out you're watching it, I'm going to have to phone your mother because that show is the most offensive thing in the world. Do you realize that there are people suing that show? And just for that very clip, now, if you go in and but don't go look at it because it's bad. You'll be offended you'll be so offended your body will collapse. And you will wake up in a cold sweat tonight if you watch that video. And you'll have a fever in 3 forms of cancer. It's so bad and offensive. But there's a quick way of fixing that. I say there's a terrific way of fixing that, you know. Personally, I don't care. I don't care what somebody puts on their social media. I don't care. I don't look at social media. I'm not on social media. There's only one I'm on, and it's God, it's not Indeed. LinkedIn. And I'm about to pull mine down, okay, because I've been on it for 4 or 5 years and I really have only had one good contact come out of it that has actually mounted it to anything other than uh, you know, that's amounted to anything, and it's minuscule really in career, linkages and networking and all that stuff. And networking in your career and everything is good. I say, when the school puts out things, like mixers for, when they bring in recruiters and stuff, hey pal, have a copy of your resume, go to those things, go to every single one of those career fairs, get as many business cards as you can, make contacts, talk to people. That's, because you'll get a job quicker that way than you will other ways. And the point about the internet is, you know, um, if you're looking for offense and society today, there are people that I kind of see is that I call them the offense crowd. They're looking for something that's going to offend them. you know I had you guys look at a episode of Dragnet, an old TV show, goes back to the 60s. Somebody made a beef about it because somehow it was offensive. Now I don't know how it was offensive to somebody. It was about the Secret Service, but it somehow offended them. And the point I make is that just because something's an offense doesn't make it an offense. And just because it may be offensive to somebody, my point is this. um you know you can find offensiveness in anything, and I'll even give you an example from my own personal life. One time I was at a family get together and my uncle and I were off in a corner and we were shooting the breeze together. He's a golfer, he's one of my favorite uncles. And he and I were talking about hamburger places, okay, like Five Guys, and what's a really good hamburger place. And I mean, we were talking about a hamburger place near my parents' house. It's no longer there. It's sad. But there's a second one that's it's just as good. It's called Imperial Burgers. And then there were Starlight Burgers, and these were little mom and pop places that had all kinds of. Oh, Starlight Burgers had the best burgers. They had terrific burritos. Oh, their burritos were the size of your fist. And if they were still there and you were in Buena Park, California, I tell you, go to Starlight Burgers, get a burrito there, but make sure you double tortilla it and have the hot sauce on the side, because that's hot sauce, man. That's real hot sauce. And they're so good. Oh, they were so good. Anyway, we were talking about that, and my sister heard my uncle and I talking. A couple days later, my mom says to me, um, why were you your uncle on, I made some really good food. Why were you and your uncle critiquing it? I said, we weren't critiquing your food, Mom. What were you talking about? Well, you guys said that, Starlight Burgers had better food than me, and I knew who it was. It was my sister. Okay, now, okay, I love my sister. I love my brother. With them, I'll just say you need to put the word fun back into dysfunctional. I, I'm sure none of you ever felt that way about a sibling. I'm positive those of you who have siblings never, salt of the earth, right? Saints all. Um, you never thought they were a pain in the ass. But the point I make is my mom got this, and it's not even what the story was about. It's not even what we were talking about. We weren't talking about her spread. We were talking about Starlight Burgers. And I was in town from Florida when I was living in Florida, and I told my uncle I'm going to go to Starlight Burgers, and that's and it's sort of like a story that came out. I dealt with a bully the summer of my sophomore year, a bully who had been bullying me for about 2 years. And it really wasn't much of an event. Nothing, basically he grabbed me and it was a basic judo move. And he grabbed me. He was bigger than me, basic judo move. And I ended up throwing him. And his two little cronies came running over and I looked at them and I said, "Do you want some of this action?" And they're like, "No, no, it's cool. It's cool. It's over. It's over." And they picked him up and carried him off. He was drunker than hell. He could barely stand up. Anyway, afterwards, a couple days later, I'm hearing stories that there was a knife pulled and there was a gun and he was put in the hospital and. So the thing I say about social media, things like that, it's very much a gossip column. And what is truth and what is BS? What I would say is get several different sources who saw the same thing. But public trust in media, look at it. In 2005, it was down to basically less than half almost. Okay. In 97, it was 53%, 53% of the public believed it, but it's gone down and it's continuously gone down. Now it's close to less than, I believe the last time I had somebody look. Here's an opportunity for extra credit. Give me the current date of public trust in the media. Go to any poll, but most news outlet polls and most polling groups have said that the media, one, is not trustworthy. Two, they're biased. You know, um, and so so that's something to keep in mind. Is it just one group? These are all the different groups that don't, trust it. U.S. adults, uh, you know, downs, trust in the media over the past decade is down almost 70%. And here's the thing, okay, going back to Monday Night Football, at Monday Night Football to have one advertisement during the football season, okay, or Super Bowl advertisement during the regular season, an advertisement on during the game, Monday Night Football, ESPN, you're looking at about $500,000 for 30 seconds. Super Bowl, you're looking to get 1 million. Anderson Cooper on CNN, okay, it was $500,000 a night. But the media advert people are coming back saying, "Hey, I'm not paying this money." Why? Anderson Cooper has less than 1 million viewers a night. Super Bowl has fewer viewers. ESPN has fewer viewers. ESPN just last June laid off 50,000 people. So it's a huge decline, huge, huge decline. And it's not just liberals, it's not just moderates. It's across the board. People are not trusting it. And, here in 2024, during the time of this, during, the presidential elections going on, nobody's buying any of the stories about the assassination of Trump. Okay. And the one thing that, the one question I have, this question I have to the media, how come the Secret Service didn't have that building secured? It had a 150-yard clear shot. Those of you in the military had been in the military. Do you think a trained sniper could make that shot? You know, I'll tell you, I've seen SEAL teams train, and I will put it to you this way. They train at 1,000 yards. There was one guy I saw with a plain old-fashioned bolt-action rifle, and he was making amazing shots at 1,000 yards, and it didn't have a scope. Okay, it was, amazing. But people are not trusting the media. People aren't. And here's the reason why. I'm going to play a little clip here real quick. I want to play for you. Let's see. Let's go back. No, I don't want to go there. Let's go here for a moment. Because that's just too offensive. Okay. Oh, shush. Oh, gosh.
And whenever there's a hurricane.
Okay. I kind of want to have you guys look at this, and I'll put a link in here for it. Let me get that. There we go. Okay. Okay.
Out to stand there and show you how bad the wind is.
How bad was it?
But of course, I understand. First of all, I don't understand why they do this. It's just like some kind of Japanese game show where you have to go out.
And this guy's a comedian, but I want you to pay attention here closely to what he's saying about media and why people aren't trusting it. This is about
It's the same thing.
Here's what wind does.
Here's what wind does. Go to a wind tunnel. You don't have to go out there and and risk a branch blowing in your face. Or anyway, this guy's out there and watch. So he's
moments. They don't issue those lightly. And clearly, the way that we're getting whipped around and battered by this violent wind is enough reason for us in the National Weather Service.
No, do you see the guy calmly walking to his vehicle?
Yes.
Look, we are on. You gotta bear with me.
Bear with me. He can't even talk.
If I don't make it home, tell my family it was climate change.
And they don't issue those warnings lightly. Did you hear him? As this guy just nonchalantly walks to his car in the background.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get that back on there. Ooh, I goofed. I got a screen in front of me here. Hang on. Okay.
Extreme moments.
Folks, extreme moments. Oh my God. He's having an extreme moment.
Issue those lightly.
They don't issue those lightly.
Clearly.
Clearly.
We're getting whipped around and battered by this violent wind. Is enough
Enter
reason
pedestrian.
for us in the
There he goes.
Casual. Strolling.
Just casually.
those extreme wind warnings.
Totally
The
strolling.
fact that we're getting whipped around like this. Oh my God.
You gotta bear with me.
You got to bear with me. I can't even.
That's why I understand a little bit more now how these kind of people can look at January 6th as a bloody
Yes.
insurrection. Like,
Yeah.
it was, people were yelling.
Hey, yeah,
there was ketchup on the wall.
So they're actors. So these aren't journalists. What you have to understand is these aren't journalists. These are actors. They know what the story is that they're selling because they're selling a story. And then they go out and they try to act it. That's why Don Lemon was doing all that climate change stuff when he was talking to the head of the Hurricane Center. And the head of the Hurricane Center kept telling him, no, it's not climate change. Shut up. Stop talking about it. And he kept going, but you don't think it's climate change? You don't really think? Because he knows the story that they're supposed to tell at CNN. And the story they're supposed to tell is they're always supposed to amp up climate change. They've pivoted from Russiagate and Trump to climate change. And that's
Climate
what
change punishes the guilty also.
And this guy, so what this guy is doing, he knows the narrative. He knows the story he's supposed to tell.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. And that's why that guy, and here it is again. This happened. This isn't the first time. They do this all the time. This happened in 2005.
But first, the severe flooding here in the Northeast as more rain continues to fall today. NBC's Michelle Kaczynski.
She's in a canoe. It's so deep she can't even walk in it. They had to get a canoe. That's how bad the flooding is.
Yes, she's in the canoe. Is in Wayne, New Jersey this morning.
Hey, guys.
Michelle, good morning to you.
Look at
Good morning.
Look at his feet
Well, obviously,
growing.
we're getting a nice break from the rain, but not the flooding. This is essentially now a part of the Passaic River in this neighborhood. It rushed in yesterday.
They don't think that's wrong. They think you got to razzmatazz it.
No, you want to hear how they cover it? This is how they try to cover that moment.
No.
She doesn't even mention that those guys walked through. Watch this.
Through the streets, and it's really tough to control a canoe or a boat when you're out in it. It's much deeper.
She didn't even mention that those guys just walked past her.
Oh, she lets go Brandon it.
She lets go Brandon it, and then they bring it up in the studio. Watch.
Back there, because this is really...
Actually, Michelle, I'll take it. Is there some kind of severe drop-off
Matt.
there between the foreground? Let's go back. We saw these guys a second ago. Michelle, walking. Are these holy men walking on top of water?
Are these holy men?
Here?
Walk when you can ride, you
Matt
guys.
Lauer's like, hey, don't worry, sweetheart,
When you
I'll
have a
still
ride
bang
like
you.
this, why would you want to walk?
Have you run ashore
But
yet?
Matt Lauer knows, oh, we just screwed the pooch. Nobody else is going to say anything. Certainly that reporter wasn't going to say anything because she's an actor. She's not a journalist.
Yeah.
Matt Lauer, actor, not a journalist. Katie Couric, actor, not a journalist. These are not journalists. These are actor celebrities, and they know they're improv artists. They know what the story is, and they know the lines, and they do them. And that's what this is. And so he knew, like, oh, my God, we just got busted. I can't not say something. I bet you the producers told us, you got to say something.
He's like, he's a, what do you call it? A Randy raking a cat, a little devil may care. So I bet he did it on his own. I would bet. You know, if he would like be like flirting with the office all cocky, he was like, hey, come on.
And that's back when men wore 3 buttons jackets. I don't know if you see it.
I don't think you have to misgender Katie Couric.
One, two, three. No.
I'm joking.
1, 2, 3. That's back when he had...
you know what? In Kenosha Comedy Club, the owner was telling me a story. They had a flooding there. And his wife, he's like this nice guy. They like do stuff in the community to like help. And so the news reporter is interviewing his wife, right? And he watched the news reporter walk into, it was flooded, but she got in the puddle and got on her knees, like it was up to her knees. He told me he couldn't believe it. Like the reporter, she was like, excuse me, and walked in, and he's like, and he had no idea that's what it was. And I forgot about, I'd seen this canoe thing, I forgot about it, but it's the same exact thing.
CNN had a fake set for the first Gulf War that they would pretend. Am I wrong about that? Did you ever see those videos where they had a complete fake set?
No.
Virginia Beach, Richmond, Arlington, San Jose, Miami, West Palm.
Okay, but the point that I'm using this little clip for is that what really is happening, okay, what's really happening, especially now in 2024 with media, is people aren't buying it anymore. Some shooting, somewhere that social media was actually X was reporting things about the assassination attempt on Trump quicker than CNN and MSNBC were reporting it. CNN and NBC were reporting and say that Trump got scared by some loud noises and had to be carried off. But social media was showing pictures of Trump being carried off with, blood on his face, and he obviously had been shot. And they totally, they screwed the pooch on that one. And CNN, but they don't do retractions. Okay. The whole Russiagate thing was completely exposed for the BS that it was. The laptop by Hunter Biden's laptop. If you had a laptop like that, you would be arrested. You would be in jail. Okay. An adult with an underage person, both with no clothes on together and very provocative poses. If you have something like that on your laptop, you can get really big trouble. But they were all saying, oh, it's Russian disinformation, all these CIA guys. They had a letter of 50 people, all CIA, saying it was Russian disinformation. Well, that's not even, it's been exposed that is preposterous. And if it was all CIA disinformation and it was all BS, then why was it admitted to his court case? Why did the prosecutors bring that into the federal prosecutors bring that into his court case? That doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You can't, oh yes, we're admitting this evidence on Rob Rigney's trial, and it's all BS, and it's been proven that it was BS, that he was at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, and he was a colonel in the French Foreign Legion and committed, a crime. Well, yeah, there's a slight problem, okay? Battle of Dien Bien Phu is, I was born in 1963. Look up when the Battle of Dien Bien Phu was, you're going to admit that in court that I was at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, war crimes. I committed war crimes at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu. You're admitting that in court, and I was born in 1963. Let's just see how far you can get with that in a court of law. So things like that, and people putting that out there, understand this, that Tucker Carlson had close to 1 million people. He was one of the top news guys. Whether you like him or not, that's not the point. He had over 1 million viewers. Joe Rogan has a huge audience. Anderson Cooper would love that. Rachel Maddow would love that. But they have less than 1 million people watching him at night, and advertisers are paying $500,000 a 30-second slot that less than 1 million people are watching. And if I put a makeup commercial, I'm better off paying one of the girls on YouTube who do tutorial makeups. I'm better off. I'll get more viewers. And it's cheaper. And so the point is that, one, people are moving away from mass media. Okay, we're moving from mass society to network society. And so the way people are getting their information is totally different. Totally different. There are more podcasters, podcasting. They have, I'll put it to you this way. Joe Rogan, okay, oh, he's crazy. He's a nutcase. He's this, he's that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but he has, I don't know how many viewers he has, but he has a huge audience. And I know it's much larger than Anderson Cooper. You don't like Tucker Carlson, that's fine. Okay, you do a podcast, but you get 60 million people watching your podcasts. I guarantee you that probably YouTube will monetize you at some point in time. But anyway, I'm going to stop it here. I've kind of talked way over time, but I wanted to get this knocked out for you. And I hope it, I'm with all these videos, I'm not trying to cover everything. I'm just kind of giving some things, but the video will be up there, and I also will make the PowerPoint available to you as well. So it'll all be up there. Anyway, it should all be up there now. Have a good afternoon, and or maybe nighttime where you are. So have a good night. Anyway, any questions, anything like that? Anything I can do to help? Let me know. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.